All right, so here's a walkthrough demonstration of how I make my amazing, properly prepared, soaked and fermented, and dehydrated roasted hard-shelled nuts. Now the first thing you want to do is get some raw nuts, and you want to start with raw because if you buy something that's previously roasted, first of all, roasted is almost always going to be in some inappropriate oil like peanut oil. But remember, we want to soak and activate and then ferment, which helps to break things down, and we want to start with raw nuts. Now, raw nuts, if you buy them at Whole Foods or Sprouts or Trader Joe's, like they tend to be really expensive, like $14, $15, $16, $17, $18 a pound. And so my favorite place so far, and you may find something a little bit better or different, is nuts.com. So nuts.com, very consistent, very high quality, and I've just been really pleased with them. Like I just like their packaging, I like their letters and their little messages they send. And so as you can see here, a 5-pound bag of raw mixed nuts, which includes cashews, almonds, Brazil nuts, filberts, and pecans. And by the way, we really like the Brazil nuts because they give us a daily allowance of selenium in a very bioavailable form. So I'd always make sure that your mixed nuts contain the Brazil nuts. That comes out to be about $10 a pound. Even if you don't buy the $5 or 5-pound package, that's still around $10 a pound, which is a really, really good price. And then we have, I like to add to the mix because these aren't in there and I want to try to get as much variety as I can. And you can add other things too, but I usually get a pound bag of walnuts, and that comes out to be about $9 a pound. And then I also get a pound bag of macadamia nuts, and that comes out to be about $18 a pound. And you can add some others to it. I'm sure at some point in the future I'll try maybe pistachios or something. Can't think of anything else that I'd want in there. But on average, when you factor all that in, I use the 5 pounds of raw mixed nuts, and then the pound of walnuts and a pound of macadamia nuts. That's about $11.50 a pound, and that's just still a really, really good price. All right, so get your raw nuts, and then you want to pour them all into a big container. So whether you're doing like a small batch or a huge batch or whatever, pour them into a big mixing bowl and then stir them up and mix them up. And then you'd want to add that to some mason jars with some water, but you want to make sure that you add a spoonful of yogurt, full-fat yogurt, to that mixing process. And when you put them in the jars, they're going to look something like this. It's going to be some big mason jars. Here I have half-gallon mason jars, but I have it filled with water. I leave a little bit of space at the top from the nuts because they tend to expand. So I'd say fill the nuts up and leave yourself a couple of inches at the top, fill it up with water, add this spoonful of yogurt, and then shake it up, and then let them soak for 24 hours. And you can give or take just a little bit. And you should notice that they actually do ferment because the lid starts to poof up a little bit. All right, now after that soaking process, then you want to rinse your nuts and lay them out on some cookie sheets. You're going to notice they're really soft and expanded. Lay them out on some cookie sheets. You may have to do this in several batches depending on how many nuts you started with. And then when you lay them out on the cookie sheets, you want to, for me, you can also use a dehydrator, but what I do is I put it in the oven at a low temperature. So I think the lowest setting on my oven was 170. And I cracked the oven door just a little bit, and I put what we call a snake in there. So I took a piece of tin foil and wrapped it up, and so the door was open just a little bit to facilitate some air moving through there. But you don't have to do that. But anyway, so you want a low roast temp at the lowest setting, 150, 170 degrees, and do that as long as it takes for the nuts to get crispy. And so what you'll have to do is at about the 24-hour mark, or a day later, or a day and a half later, you're going to have to just test one and see if it's crispy or not. All right, so after they become crispy, then what I do is I'll take them out and I'll put them back in that big mixing bowl, and I'll add some melted ghee. And then I'll also add, and I'll stir that up so that they're all coated with a little bit of ghee. And then I'll add a little bit of salt, and I'll drizzle with a little bit of honey, and I'll mix all that up. And I'm not trying to make my nuts taste really sweet, but you'll mix all that up, and then you'll spread it back on the cookie sheets, and then put it back in the oven for a few more hours or something along those lines. And if you do that, by the time you get done, your nuts are going to come out very gently roasted, but they're fully dehydrated. They're nice and crispy. They have a little bit of salt to them, a tad bit of sweet to them. You can do some other things like maybe add in some almond extract or vanilla extract or something, but I think the way that I just lined it out is just perfect. and let me know how it goes. Let me know if you have any feedback or any comments or other little tips or strategies. Be careful because they are amazing and people will just want to walk away with them. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in.